Nick quickly hides inside the closet. Adrian notices a faint sound, and realizing someone is there, she stands in front of the closet and takes off her clothes. A reporter named Nick is new in town and looking for a good apartment. None of the ones he sees appeal to him, and while still searching, he almost bumps into a young girl named Adrian. She just gives him a look and walks back to her house as if nothing happened. Nick likes the final guest house he checks out and decides to rent it. By chance, he later finds out from his landlord Liv that the girl he nearly ran into is actually her daughter. The next day, while Nick is moving his things in, Adrian secretly watches him. Her friend Cheyenne shows up, and Adrian asks her to take a look at the new tenant. Cheyenne goes over, talks with Nick for a bit, and finds him polite but later tells Adrian that he's way too old for them. The following day, Nick begins his new job, where he is tasked with investigating Robert, a politician accused of stealing $2 million. During a meeting, his attractive coworker Amy tries to catch his attention. That afternoon, while Nick is getting his car ready for painting, Adrian walks over and hints at her interest while chatting with him. A few days later, Nick lands an important lead on Robert's case and works late into the night on his report. While he's focused, Adrian drops by and says he looks good when he's serious about work. Nick lets her in, and while listening to him, she keeps giving him suggestive looks. Curious, Nick asks her age, and she replies, 14.
FBI, open up!
The next morning, while Nick is showering, he realizes someone has entered his house. It's Adrian. She notices a childhood photo of him and asks to have it, but he refuses. As Nick is getting dressed in the bathroom, Adrian sneaks a glance at him and smiles. When he comes out, she gives him a pair of sunglasses and invites him to a party at their house that evening. At work, Nick finds that his report on Robert's case has been altered. He tells Michael he needs to recheck it, but his boss insists it's already perfect. That night, Nick attends the party at Adrian's house, where her parents warmly welcome him. Later, Adrian plays the piano, leaving Nick impressed with her talent. Afterward, he talks with Adrian outside, and she admits she was the one who changed his report. When Nick asks why, she says she only wanted to help so he would like her. She then asks him to take her somewhere because she has something to show him. Thinking it's harmless, Nick agrees. They drive to a lighthouse, where Adrian apologizes for interfering in his work and promises not to do it again. She admits she finds it hard to make friends because people think she's odd. Nick tells her they can be friends, but then Adrian suddenly kisses him. The kiss deepens, but Nick quickly pulls back, reminded of her age. He rushes home and pours himself a drink, trying to push the moment from his mind. The next morning, Nick looks out and sees Adrian lying outside in just a bikini. Moments later, she runs up to greet him but grows jealous when she notices Amy is with him. The following day, Nick throws a party at his place. When Michael arrives, he compliments the strong article Nick has written and mentions that Robert now wants to grant him a personal interview. Meanwhile, Amy goes outside to collect firewood for marshmallows and stumbles upon a beehive. Adrian suddenly appears and warns her that the bees are very territorial. Amy later tells Nick that she finds Adrian strange and suspects the girl might have feelings for him. Nick dismisses it, saying Adrian is only a kid. The next day, while Nick is busy with his report, Adrian keeps calling him non-stop. He asks her if she took the photo of him with his grandfather, but she denies it. Feeling uneasy, Nick sneaks into Adrian's house to look for the missing photo. He checks her room but doesn't find it. Instead, he discovers a pillow with both of their initials stitched on it. Hearing movement in the bathroom, Nick quickly hides inside the closet. Adrian notices a faint sound, and realizing someone is there, she stands in front of the closet and takes off her clothes. Nick swallows hard at the sight, and moments later, Adrian walks into the bathroom. Taking the chance, Nick tries to slip out, only to bump into Adrian's father, Cliff, at the door. Thinking fast, Nick says he was only returning a book Adrian had lent him. Fortunately, Cliff believes the excuse. Cliff then asks Nick to help carry some groceries up to the attic. While there, Nick spots a merry-go-round, which Cliff says he bought for his precious daughter. The father confides that now Adrian is growing up, he dreads the day she will have a boyfriend. Feeling uneasy, Nick stays calm until Adrian suddenly shows up, making him even more nervous. He quickly excuses himself, but before he leaves, Cliff asks Adrian what book she gave Nick. Thankfully, Adrian plays along with the story, confirming that Nick was indeed the one hiding in her closet. The next day, Nick confronts Adrian and tells her he likes her only as a friend. Adrian reminds him that they have kissed, but Nick insists it was a mistake. She then asks if it was also a mistake when he hid in her closet watching her undress, leaving Nick speechless. Finally, she asks if he would give her first experience to him. This angers Nick, who firmly says it will never happen because she is too young. Adrian just laughs and keeps swinging on her hammock. The following day, Nick shows Amy his newly painted car, but to his shock, he finds scratches on it. He reports it to Cliff and Liv, but they refuse to believe their daughter would ever do such a thing. When Cliff asks Adrian directly if she damaged Nick's car, she simply says she has no reason to do that. Later, as Nick is taping over the scratches, Cheyenne approaches with something important to tell him about Adrian, but she insists they must meet that night to talk about it. From her bedroom window, Adrian watches them, burning with jealousy. Wanting revenge, Adrian loosens the safety strap on Cheyenne's horse. During practice for a riding competition, Cheyenne falls and cries out in pain. As she lies injured, Adrian secretly smiles before casually asking if her friend is okay. Not knowing about the accident, Nick waits at the meeting spot for Cheyenne. He is stunned when Adrian appears instead, furious at the idea he might care for her friend. She tells him to just go visit Cheyenne at the hospital and, before leaving, warns him to always be careful. One afternoon, Adrian casually mentions the lighthouse to Amy, hinting that she and Nick shared a kiss there. When Nick arrives, Adrian greets him warmly, but he completely ignores her. The next day, Nick is horrified to find the report from his interview with Robert completely blank. He rushes home for a backup from his computer, only to discover all his files have been deleted. Nick immediately tells Amy what happened, saying he has just lost the most important report of his career. He begs her to cover for him with their boss while he rewrites everything from scratch, promising that once it's done, he will finally move out. As he moves around, Nick notices a disc on the floor, which leads him to discover a hidden door to the basement. There, he finds something disturbing, his name written all over the walls, surrounded by candles and rosaries, as though he is being worshipped. Terrified, he quickly shuts the basement and hurries back to his report. Adrian calls him again and again, but he ignores every single one, leaving her frustrated. After turning in his report to Michael, Nick starts looking for a new place. He finds one owned by Mrs. Tinkerman, but he has to wait a week before moving in. To celebrate his decision, Amy brings over a bottle of wine. She invites him to their boss's party as her date, hinting that she wants to take their relationship further. In return, Nick kisses her, which leads to a passionate night together. Meanwhile, Adrian spends the day in tears over Nick avoiding her. Later, she goes into his room and is heartbroken to see him sleeping beside Amy. Nick wakes up to the sound of chopping from the house next door. When he sees Adrian, she only smiles and says she is just making lemonade. The next morning, Adrian confronts Amy and asks if she spent the night with Nick. Amy coldly replies that the girl's feelings for Nick will eventually fade. She doesn't bother to argue further and walks away, leaving Adrian furious. The following day, Amy enters the darkroom to develop a picture of herself with Nick, not realizing Adrian has locked the door behind her. While going through the photos, Amy notices one of Adrian, meaning the girl has managed to sneak inside before. Before she can react, Adrian releases a swarm of bees into the room, leaving Amy covered in stings and badly injured. Nick is stunned when he learns Amy has been hospitalized. Soon after, Adrian appears and invites him to watch her at an upcoming event. When she reaches for his hand, Nick pulls away, beginning to suspect she had something to do with Amy's injuries. On the day of the competition, Adrian looks for Nick, but he never arrives because he is at a work event. While their boss is speaking, Adrian storms in and slaps Nick in front of everyone. The crowd is shocked, and Nick quickly pulls her aside to stop the chaos. He firmly tells her that he feels nothing for her and begs her to leave him alone, but Adrian starts screaming wildly, making the people around them misunderstand the situation. Later, Nick visits Mrs. Tinkerman to confirm his move, but she refuses, claiming she won't allow a drug dealer in her house, a lie Adrian has told her. When Nick gets home, police officers are waiting. They handcuff him for allegedly harming a minor. Adrian has deliberately injured herself, and everyone believes her story. Nick tries to explain she has been harassing him, but no one listens, especially after investigators find traces of his DNA on her. Thanks to his boss Michael, Nick is temporarily released. His lawyer warns him that Adrian's parents are planning to take her away and advises him to use the chance to pack and leave, especially since the DNA found matches his own. Nick insists Adrian must have stolen one of his used items, but even Michael doubts him. While Nick is packing, Cheyenne visits and reveals something disturbing about a man Adrian once fixated on. The man died of poisoning, which everyone assumed was an accident, but Cheyenne believes Adrian was behind it. She says the proof is in Adrian's diary, where she records everything. Nick says he will tell his lawyer about the diary and urges Cheyenne to go home, but she refuses. Instead, she sneaks into Adrian's house to search for it. Nick panics when he hears piano music from next door and rushes over. He looks for Cheyenne, and when she enters Adrian's room, he is horrified to see candles placed around a photograph of himself. Suddenly, Adrian appears and, in a jealous rage, demands to know if something is going on between him and Cheyenne. Nick ignores her and continues looking for the girl. Furious, Adrian attacks and shoves him from the second floor. When Nick regains consciousness, he immediately resumes the search. At the same time, Cliff arrives home. Nick finally finds Cheyenne tied to the merry-go-round in the attic. As he tries to free her, Adrian strikes again. He manages to hold her down, but just then, Cliff bursts in and pulls his daughter away. Cliff then tries to kill Nick, but in a shocking twist, Adrian knocks her own father unconscious. She then turns on Nick, but he fights back with a hard punch, leaving her unconscious too. Weeks later, Nick is living peacefully at Amy's house and has returned to his job. His girlfriend hands him a stack of letters, all from an obsessed admirer. Meanwhile, Adrian is now confined to a psychiatric hospital. While writing yet another letter to Nick, her doctor enters. He treats her kindly, and Adrian seems moved by his gentleness. After being escorted back to her room, she secretly pulls out a photo she has taken of him, showing that she has already found a new obsession.